Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, my mother-in-law's Schefflera is about to get pruned. It's been a busy couple of weeks, so I haven't been able to tackle any tree work for quite a while. Working on cold frames, a little bit of plant room stuff, and I finally am going to just sit down tonight and I'm going to work with the Schefflera. That was a cutting from my mother-in-law. So thanks to Sue for providing the material, and it's doing really well. It loved its place outside. We've got new growth. It's shooting new growth. It's been inside for over 2 weeks now, and the new growth continues with little buds here, so we've got lots of energy, and we're gonna go ahead and give this thing a bit of a haircut. But before we do that, I saw a lot of chatter on the YouTube channels with the whole Toronto show coming up, and so for some friends in Canada getting ready for the Toronto show, and I completely forgot to show you all some photographs from the Minnesota State Fair Bonsai exhibit that Minnesota Bonsai Society puts on every year. So our show is at the Minnesota State Fair, and it's that Labor Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, where we show off some of the trees. Now, I didn't put any of my trees in the show this year, but I went out there to volunteer and talk to a whole bunch of people who wanted to see some really cool trees and talk about those trees, because as you know, I'd be talking for hours on end if someone let me do that. So let's take a quick peek. I just have some photographs of some of the trees that piqued my interest. It wasn't the whole show in its entirety for sure, but let's take a look at a few trees at the Minnesota Bonsai Society's exhibit at the Minnesota State Fair this past September. Some really fun trees at the Minnesota State Fair, Minnesota Bonsai Society exhibit. Some really great stuff. I have to send out my kudos to Tim Mathwig, who won Best in Show. His tree was absolutely stunning. And also my friend Candace from Bonsai Science. Candace got some awards this year, and kite flying and windswept tree was fantastic, and I just loved that scene, the feeling that evoked when you looked at that scene there. So fantastic. So congratulations to everybody who brought trees. And will I bring trees there in the future? You know, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a person who is overly interested right now in showing trees. Maybe that'll change as my trees develop more. And I have a few trees I could start to show, but I'm in it for the journey and learning about bonsai and helping other people get interested in bonsai. And I just haven't had this big desire to put my trees in shows yet. But when everybody talks about shows, it gets me a little bit more interested and excited and wanting to talk trees and look at trees. And so it's all good. It's all a positive vibe. We'll see what happens down the road. Let's give the Schefflera a spin for you. This is the Schefflera from my mother-in-law, Sue, and she took the cutting for me and I put it in a pot. This pot indoors last year, this year actually, I put it in this pot, and then we brought it outside for the first time. I discovered I had it a little bit too much full of sun, so I put it in some partial shade with my shade cloth that I added this year. You can check out the Schefflera episode that I put this in a pot. We'll make sure that that's linked up for you. And today we're going to give it a haircut though. It's pretty thick and bushy, and I got to decide maybe what I'm going to do with some main branches here, because now I have 2 or 3 thick branches. What should I do? So let's give you the spin around here. I think you might be looking at the back. So let's give it a go right here. I'm not sure. So there's the front per se, we think possibly, and of course that always can change. So let's give it a bit of a turn here. Side. The other possible front or the back, unless this becomes like a front as we slightly tilt it. More to the side. Another angle that could become a front someday with these branches coming out this way. And back to what I think perhaps is one of the fronts based on the oval pot that I put this in. So I'm going to take a look at this and I'm going to see what I'm thinking for this tree. I've got this one big aerial root coming right down here. There's another one right here that connects to that aerial root, but they're not attached. So this one might come off. We just keep this one because this one's growing out that way. So let's take a peek at this, spin it around and see. So if we come in here, you can see the chop we made. That's the first big chop on this tree that was made right here. And look at the big branch that grew down below here and it swoops up even taller. But look at this main branch right here. That is all new growth since this tree began its journey. We've got this other side branch growing right here, right kind of off of this. Now that's not a bar branch per se, because it's a little bit higher. This one's thicker. This is a root. This has got some leaf structure on there. But what do we want for this tree? Where do we think we're going to see a front? Now, if this would be the front, this root's sticking right at us, so right now this would not be a front, but down the road you never know. If I have roots going all around this trunk, this main trunk, that could be a front. One of the things we're always looking at with our bonsai trees is look at that section with no taper. It does have movement, but no taper. There's a new bud right here. Let's show you that right here. Boom, there's a new bud right there that wants to go. There's a new bud right here that wants to go behind this leaf structure. Right here, there's a bud below my tweezers that wants to go. So I can cut this thing back down to here for sure, and I'd get some more growth there. The question I have is this going to remain the main trunk, or do we develop this into the main trunk? This becomes a branch either way, or maybe we cut it. We're not going to cut that off. So how low to cut this? There's also the possibility of having it split here into 2 main trunks, and we can get another one that grows over here, or some more splitting, cut this down, and then it splits off into 2s, and then we've got 2 off this one, 2 off this one. I could cut this way back so this one gets as thick as that one, but that's more the main trunk, and these 2 are the primary branches, and then we go out to secondary, tertiary, How tall do I want this tree to be? I think regardless of what I do to this tree, as I showed you moments ago, we have a really nice bud right here by my finger. And there's a nice bud right up there. Nice every other pattern. So if I were to do this, allow for some dieback, and cut this right here, we could put this in some water and we could get some roots with that nice woody surface there. So that could become possible. Put it in a pot of water, one of my watering cans of water, and get some more roots and get another Schefflera going so I can make maybe a forest banyan style clumps down the road. So we took that branch off. There we go. We took the main leader off way back, real back hard. We got some buds growing there that are going to shoot out, we hope, because of it's growing so well in here. This branch right here is growing in on the tree, so we're just going to cut that off so we can see things a little bit more. And this too is kind of just not in a primary spot for us to get a good glimpse of the tree. And so now that looks like kind of a fun front, but we've got this root right in front of us, so we're probably not going to do that quite so much. But if you look at it this way, the root's in the back for maybe a later planting. So this could be the front with our two branches going off this way and this way. I think regardless, this one crosses over and creates too much of an eyesore. We're going to get rid of that one. And now these both come out front. We've got a longer one and a shorter one. The longer one cuts across the trunk. This one does not yet and goes this way, but then we have this one over here. So we could cut both of these off and just leave this as maybe a potential new spot for this trunk to go, if that is kind of the new front design. And I won't repot it tonight, but we have opportunity to make this into a different tree down the road here. And again, I don't know if I like it straight on or slightly angled. This one does shoot towards the camera a little bit. This one's a little bit more out to your right. We can guide this and maybe make it come back a little bit. I think regardless, we're going to cut it shorter. And this one I'm going to cut shorter. This one crosses. Let's cut that off. So what I'm going to look at here is this branch right here. This kind of comes towards the viewer if this is the new proposed front. This branch is kind of growing really up straight off of this one, and it's competing with its own branch. So I can either cut this whole branch down and let this become its new leader, or I cut that little one off right here. So we can just see the development of that branch. There's a nice branch going off this way. There's one up here if we want things to move more this way. This one comes off to the back right here, so that gives it a little bit of depth right now. I cut that one that's going over this way, so now we just have this one left. I don't know that I'll keep that one either. But I don't mind some branches in the front of the tree at times, because, you know, trees aren't just flat and one-dimensional here and then all of a sudden three-dimensional here. We have the sun going around and getting all kinds of growth, or this way. So we don't want to maybe make it too flat. And it's a real small branch right now, but I could leave it to just help thicken things up. If this is a front, all the branches go off this way. If this is a front, this is just kind of blocking everything. So the big decision is right here. This could be a new leader. Back here could be a new leader. Make it come back more back this way and then up. There's a new leaf that's starting right there, new bud. Who knows where new growth can go. And again, there's a bud right back here by my scissors back here, and there's one up here, so this will split into two up here. So I'd want this side to grow over more this side, because this could fill up the middle. going to cut this one a little bit closer at a different angle. So this one comes over and hides that scar a little bit more. So I think regardless, I'll take this one off. It's kind of coming out at you folks out there. And then this is okay. I probably could cut all of these leaves off right now and be fine down here in the plant room. I think I am going to cut this one off right here. I do like the bud in the back that can shoot up. I'll leave this back one, I think, for a little bit longer. Maybe I cut that one off. Because it's growing on the inside a little bit back here in this view. So if I get two new buds shooting up here and here, this will take over here. We got this stuff up front. And we'll just leave these two to see how low I keep it down, and we'll see where these go. There we go. So, do I leave these 5 stems on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or do I cut them all off and just see where everything new grows on here? But I think I'll just leave it alone. I'll leave this this foliage on here to photosynthesize a little bit. This leaf is a very bizarre one. It's kind of grew let's cut this one off right here. So we got a couple leaves here. This will probably come off. Let's just do it now. So we got a nice structure of leaves here. We got a nice big one in the back and 2 up here. This one out in front. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We still have 5, I guess. I didn't count that one earlier. And that's good for right now. Now this is going to be a lot easier to water in the plant room. I get water in there. It won't just go on the leaves and fall all over the place. So we'll keep this thing watered real nice. One of my concerns right now with this big thick branch down here is that we're going to have a little bit of reverse taper in here. So I don't want this one to get too terribly thick. I almost wonder if I should just cut this off completely right now and let this take over as the new leader. So that's something for me to think about right here before we call it a day. Now, yeah, I have 2 buds here and there, which will probably grow and be fine, but will this just get too thick? And this isn't thick enough down here. This will let grow now, and we'll let it grow up and tall so it can get some of this bottom part thicker. What to do? I think I'll hold off for now. So when we first looked at it today, I think we started right here. So let's give it one final spin and call it a night for this Schefflera. Not a horrible front if we do something with this eventually. Not a very good front right now because of all this activity here. That could possibly be a front if we get rid of this branch here or get rid of this back one here, but I'd get rid of this one for more taper and more movement. Kind of the side there and back to the front. So there we have a Schefflera all pruned up. It's been in my plant room for a couple of weeks. It's acclimated just fine. We've got a new bud shooting up right here. We'll get some new growth down here, I'm sure. We got the 2 buds on here, and we're just going to see how this is going to go. So let's put this back on the bench, and we're done with the Schefflera for tonight. I mentioned that I could put this into some water and see if I can get a really nice cutting off of this big fat base, and we can get a whole new tree going. It's got a nice branch. So I need a place to put it in. And this is a cutting from the Mother-In-Law cutting. And so this is now already 2nd generation. Let's pull this out of here and let's see how this is doing. Oh wow, we got some new, look at that. We got some leaves and branches growing inside here. And look at all the roots. All right. So we want to put this into a pot. So this is a nice Schefflera that has some really interesting curve movement here. So when it grows up, maybe it'll start going back this way. We'll cut these two big ones off. But look at all those nice roots. So let's go ahead and cut that off, cut that off, cut that off. Nice. That's been in there for about 6 months, 4 to 6 months. I don't remember when this cutting happened. Probably before I took it outside, so probably 4 or 5 months ago. So nice little radial root pattern going too, by the way. There's coming over on all the sides here. A little weaker on this side, but not too bad. This has just been in my plant room for a while. It's got a nice drain hole in it. So we'll put the screen in there. And we're going to start with a little bit coarser soil in the bottom. I got some pumice here. And I'm going to go ahead and put in there. Just to hold that in place. And then we're just going to simply put this in here and get some soil in here. All right. So I have some soil pre-sifted all ready to go. And I think we can cut these a little bit shorter and go for some more radial ramification here. Being it's in a plant room here, I've got a really good controlled environment now. That's going to be really nice for the trees and nice for this new growth. So I'm spreading out the roots there so they have the 360 flare. And I'm going to get that soil in there. And now this might not stay in here until I get it watered because it's so top heavy. Oh, it's right there, but it wants to bend. So let's go ahead and cut this right here. And let's cut this right here. There we go. And there we have a new bonsai. I don't even know, this must have been some growth that just didn't have any leaves on it. Got a little itty bitty tiny little leaf right there. It's just this little tiny grouping ready to get bigger. We'll give this some water and we'll see how this is going to do in the plant room. Again, with the controlled environment, it should be really, really, really good. Look at that chocolate milk we're making. A little bit of the residue from the akadama and the lava rock. There we go. And now we're already leaking. We'll get a towel and clean this up. Our cutting from a cutting is ready to go back on the bench. It's going to get a little north-facing sun plus my big new light, the 4-foot light there that we have over those plants. And we have another Schefflera. Who knows what this will look like in a couple of months. So let's put this one back on the shelf now too. The last thing for me to do today is to maybe get some more roots on another cutting. So it's a cutting from a cutting, but not a cutting from a cutting from a cutting. So this is from the mother tree, to be more specific, the mother-in-law tree. And we're going to put this in some water. So I got a really nice thick base. We typically want to have some of this more hardened off base to get some roots to grow. So we're going to put this in water and hope that it does take off a little bit. So I have 3 branches in there right now. Let's cut it down to 2. And we're going to stick that in some water. So now that's completely in the water. And as the water goes down, I can go down a couple of inches and it'll still be there. So it'll keep that alive. And these just stay like this. It'll look like this for months to come, and we'll get some new roots and have yet another tree, I don't know, to put into a forest, create more of a banyan style, a forest of these Scheffleras. So my thanks again to my mother-in-law Sue for providing these cuttings to begin with. More material to work with. And I think that's all I'm going to do for tonight. Yeah, short and sweet, some Schefflera work. I hope you like the pictures from the Minnesota Bonsai Society exhibit at the Minnesota State Fair. Some great trees there. And I hope one of these days my Scheffleras will be as good as one of my good friend Ken Ellis's from Minnesota Bonsai Society. It was his Schefflera I saw at last year's September State Fair show that was over 40 years old. It's a beautiful Schefflera that I was really inspired by, and I said, you know what, I should maybe have a Schefflera in my collection. And now we're doing cuttings from my mother-in-law tree, is how much I'm enjoying the Scheffleras. But that will do it for now. So, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we're going to catch you very, very soon, right here in the plant room, I'm betting, with some more stuff. All right, take care.